I'm 30 years old and live in a two-family house with my sister. She takes the downstairs, and I have the upstairs, each with its own kitchen. Most nights, she's not even around since she stays with her boyfriend who lives about 20 miles away. Even though I'm grown, being alone in that house still creeps me out sometimes. One night, I was on the couch watching a horror movie. My floor has an open design. The kitchen, dining, and living areas are all one space. My couch sits in the center, facing the TV, which means a big portion of the room is always behind me. Not ideal for horror movie nights. The only light came from the TV, so I kept glancing over my shoulder. After the movie, I shut the lights off, brushed my teeth, and went to sleep. I woke up a couple hours later, around 1 a.m. At first, I didn't know why. Then I heard a voice downstairs. It sounded just like my sister. She wasn't outside the door. She was already inside. Half asleep, I figured maybe she'd come home with her boyfriend and was yelling my name. I walked into the hallway, turned on the light, and went through the living room. Again, I heard her voice, clearly calling me from downstairs. Still groggy, I went down in the dark, fumbling for a light switch until I finally found one in the kitchen. As the bulb flickered on, dim at first, the whole floor came into view, but no one was there. Not my sister, not her boyfriend. I checked her bedroom. Empty. I called out her name loudly. Nobody replied. But seconds later, I heard something drop onto the floor in the very room I had just checked. That was enough. I bolted upstairs, locked myself in my room, and grabbed my phone. She didn't answer when I called. Eventually, I fell back asleep. In the morning, she texted me asking why I tried to call so late. I asked if she'd been home. She said no, she'd stay with her boyfriend. I checked her room again for something that might have fallen. Nothing was out of place. No object on the floor. I tell myself I imagined it, but the voice was so vivid, and I've never hallucinated before. I'd rather believe my mind was playing tricks than accept what the alternative could mean.
I was 14 the night I almost died in my own home. My mom worked overnight shifts as a nurse, so I was often left alone. That night she was working, my brother was off at college, and I had invited a girl named Molly over. We hung out for a while, watched some movies, but she left before midnight since her parents didn't want her staying out late. I stayed in my room upstairs, right next to the backyard, watching TV. Then I heard it, the sound of one of the chairs being dragged across the deck. Curious, I looked out the window. Someone was sitting there. At first, I thought Molly had come back. I called her name, but when the figure looked up, it wasn't her. I ducked away from the window, terrified. I texted friends to see if maybe they were pulling a prank. None of them were, and I didn't believe they would have done that anyway. After a few minutes, I forced myself to look again. He was still sitting there, staring up at my window. Gathering some courage, I called down, asking what he wanted. His shoulders shook as if he were laughing, but at first, there was no sound. Then a wheezing whistle, like he was laughing too hard to breathe. I begged him to go away, then hit again. Soon I heard the back door rattling. He was trying to get inside. Then he moved to the front door, jiggling the knob, pushing it. Luckily, the locks held, and after a moment, he gave up. I stayed locked in my room, shaking in silence, until my mom got home around 9 a.m. When I told her, she was furious I hadn't called the police. Looking back, I know that mistake could have cost me my life. I was 10 years old. My brother was 14, my sister only 5. One Friday night, I was upstairs playing a Star Wars game when my mom got a call that made her cry. My brother had been hit by a car. His leg was broken, but we didn't know more. My parents rushed to the hospital, taking my sister with them, and left me home alone. Hours later, after midnight, I heard the front door open. Excited, I thought my parents were back with my brother. But I didn't hear their voices. I turned off the TV and game, lay down with my Game Boy, and waited. Still no sound. Suspicious, I opened my bedroom door and looked over the upstairs banister. 3 tall figures were standing silently in our living room. They weren't my family. I slipped back into my room and closed the door carefully, but not carefully enough. The click was loud enough that they must have heard. I ran into my closet, hiding behind boxes and bags. Moments later, footsteps entered my room. I heard them touch my bed covers. Then silence. Then footsteps at my closet door. The door opened. My heart was pounding. I stayed frozen, not daring to breathe. After what felt like forever, the door shut again. The footsteps faded, leaving the room. I stayed hidden until my parents returned hours later. They found the front door left open and valuables missing. If they hadn't overlooked me, I might not have survived. To this day, I wonder, did they see me hiding and decide to leave me, or did I truly go unnoticed? I was 17 when this happened. My parents were on vacation, leaving me home for the week. Our house in Newark, Ohio, backed up to the woods. It was a quiet place, with a big deck, pond, and pool. One Thursday night in July 2013, I was outside on the deck, smoking weed and playing music. That's when I heard a voice from the woods. I paused the music, listened, and heard it again, "Hey, over here." At first, I thought maybe kids were playing. But then the voice shouted, "We need help." The tone was deeper, clearly a man. When I didn't respond, it said again, "Straight in front of you, come help us." Uneasy, I called out, asking who it was. The voice quickly answered, "I see you." That was the moment my gut told me something was wrong. I backed away from the woods and went inside, locking the doors. Minutes later, the voice came again, closer this time. I heard splashing near the pool. When I looked out the window, I saw him. A man crouched behind the pool, only his head visible, staring at me. I closed the blinds, hoping he'd go away. Instead, he banged violently on the glass, screaming, "Help!" I screamed back, threatening that the police were on the way. He just laughed, a sick, mocking laugh that slowly faded as he walked off. I was left trembling but safe. That night made me more cautious about opening my door to strangers. I still think about what might have happened if I'd stepped into those woods. I'm 23 now and still living with my parents. One day, while shooting hoops in the driveway, I glanced up and saw a woman in one of the upstairs windows. She wasn't my mom or sister. She was a stranger. I ran inside, searched every room upstairs, then downstairs, and even the basement. Nothing. Convinced I wasn't crazy, I screamed that she needed to get out. My neighbor came over after hearing me and helped me search. Still nothing. We figured she must have slipped out through the back door. That night, after checking everything again, I finally went to bed. But as I started to drift off, I heard sounds near me. At first, I ignored it, but the noises grew clearer. I turned, and saw her crawling out from under my bed. I screamed and tackled her. She clawed at me, leaving scars on my arm, but I dragged her downstairs. Right then, my neighbor rang the bell again. Together, we restrained her while I called the police. She looked filthy, deranged, and screamed threats the entire time. When the police arrived, one of the officers immediately recognized her. They'd dealt with her before. Her name, of all things, was Karen. Watching her shoved into the back of the police car was a strange mix of fear and relief. I didn't sleep much that night, but part of me felt satisfied knowing she was finally caught. If you enjoyed these stories, make sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel and don't forget to hit the bell icon so you never miss more terrifying horror stories.